Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Fan Behavior and F1 podcast. I am Zoe, and I am back with my Hannah, not the Hannah from Track Talk Pod, though we do love the Track Talk podcast.
Yeah.
And thank you again to those girls for filling in for you while you were off on your bachelorette. Well, not your bachelorette, but a bachelorette weekend.
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
I did have fun. Hi guys, I missed you. Yes, thank you so much to the Track Talk Pod for filling in while I was away. Yeah, it was a good time. We realized today, I didn't realize it's been a month since I've seen you.
Yeah, I think it's been, I was looking actually on the calendar for some other things, and I was like, wait, I think it's been it may be closer to 3 weeks. I don't know exactly when we recorded our last, because we sometimes we double up and all that jazz, but it has been a while. The longest it's been in a while. But September is going to be even, we're talking about, we're probably going to be apart for another good chunk of time.
Yeah, I'm out of town like the second half of the month.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm already tired.
But it's okay because we're together today.
Yeah, we
are. Which is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Monza week.
My heart rate is back to normal.
Didn't give us the Monza that we have had in past years.
Mm-hmm.
But, nothing is the same as it's been in the past. So what can you do?
What can you do? There's a lot of history made today.
Yes, exactly. There's so much to discuss, so much news stuff that happened prior to the race weekend actually happening. Mm-hmm. But before we get into that, I know you have something you want to share.
Oh, yes. Just a little pop in to talk about our lovely friends at Fifth Gear Garms. I don't know if you guys saw, I think you shared it on stories, but they have a new Monza t-shirt that's like pizza shop vibe. It's so cute. I'm obsessed with it. And yeah, they just have the best
stuff. Have the Monza track, like the Monaco shirt that I have. I'm currently wearing a Fifth Gear Garms Ferrari shirt in honor of Monza weekend.
Big fan.
So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, they've got great stuff. So you can go to the link in our bio or go to fifthgeargarms.com and use code FANBEHAVIOR10 at checkout for 10% off.
Yes, get yourself some merch.
Woo.
And your friends. And I feel like I actually read this somewhere that September is one of the most common birth months. Like I think it's highest percentage birth month. And so if you have friends in your life, family in your life that have birthdays this month, it's a good option for birthdays.
It's also never too early to get started on holiday shopping.
Yeah.
Budget it out.
Sure. Exactly. And along those same lines, if you haven't rated, reviewed to our podcast on Apple or Spotify, just take 5 seconds right now and just go over there and give ourselves a nice little 5 stars. If you want to write a review, we'd really appreciate it. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe. We really need those subscriber numbers to go up, guys. So even if you don't watch on YouTube, but you're just feeling generous, subscribe to our channel.
Help us help you.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And as we've said before, we have heard it's more fun to watch us than to listen to us.
Allegedly, yeah. That's what the people say.
Yeah. Some people say. I'm sure other people are like, we never want to see their faces ever again, but that's okay.
Their loss.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's get into some of the stuff that happened the week prior to the weekend happening. The first sort of biggest news was the Lewis Hamilton Mercedes extension and the George Russell extension. Both drivers locked in through 2025. Mm-hmm. We knew it was coming. It was only a matter of time, but now it is official. And it's exciting for Mercedes. I feel like there's a lot of debate as to what team has the best driver pairing on the grid. Mm-hmm. And obviously we'll never know because they're never going to be in the same car.
Equal machinery.
But I would say it's between Mercedes and McLaren.
Yes, I would agree with that.
I think Ferrari is sort of up there, but I still think Mercedes and McLaren are faster. Mm-hmm. Like the drivers on pace are quicker drivers than the combined Ferrari.
Yeah.
Obviously Max is the best driver currently, but that's, not saying much because he's driving a very, very, very fast car.
Right.
How'd you feel when you heard the news?
I was really curious. I didn't really expect them not to sign Lewis again. I'm not surprised about George. and I'm not really surprised about Lewis. It just felt like it was taking ages for them to finally get it done. So that sort of made me wonder, but I don't know how long contract negotiations take. So, but yeah, I'm glad. Honestly, it's just nice to like have them locked in so that we can panic about the other ones.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's a good, like, it's good for the teams to have stability with their drivers and just like know what's to come.
Yeah.
And they can just like focus on the car. They don't have to worry about we're going to lose this driver or that driver. And I mean, where were they going to go?
Yeah.
Either of them.
Right.
Nowhere.
Right.
But yeah, happy that they're both going to be around. And obviously I'm mostly happy just for Lewis because he is getting older.
Yeah.
His time is, coming to an end, so to speak. So we shall see.
I know. And I just hope their cars more like I really want to see
fighting at potential.
Yeah, competitiveness from them.
Yeah.
Consistently.
And 2 more years to hopefully see a Lewis Hamilton victory.
Yeah.
One can only hope. Next piece of, I guess I could call it news in quotation, is that Max got his new Hungary trophy.
He did.
Lando brought it over, I suppose, or was there to, give it back to its rightful owner after completely destroying it in the podium celebrations.
They did that quickly as well, because I heard
quick.
It takes a very long time to make those.
Yes.
That was good for them.
That was a good media moment.
Yes, it was. They did very good with that.
That was
Max
funny
specifically because he hates that part so much.
Yeah. But it's funny that Lando was there and the whole thing, and people were making fun of Lando because he wasn't wearing shoes. In all the photos, he was wearing socks. It was very classy. You come over to your friend's house, you take off your shoes.
Yeah.
But everyone else happened to be in shoes, and he just was in his little, I don't know, Puma socks, or whatever brand they wear. So that was funny. And I feel like Formula One's one of the only sports that does stuff like that. It's very just in on the joke, self-aware, knows how to make the moment. Because I do think Lando did get some backlash.
I'm sure he did.
Because he was sort of flippant about the fact that he just broke the trophy, and people were well, this took a long time and a lot of money, and you can't be so nonchalant about breaking the trophy.
I will say and I'm not saying this is how he felt, but there's been times where I've done something where I'm embarrassed. And so to counteract my embarrassment, I'm just who cares? It's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. Not that the thing that happened isn't a big deal, but I'm trying to get the attention off the thing I did that's embarrassing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's what he did, but
I just think for Lando, his thing was he truly didn't think it was a bit he was this is whatever I actually, because he probably doesn't care about the trophy. And it's haha, I broke it. And then people were dude, you're being a little bit spoiled schoolboy that doesn't take care of his things, and you need to have a little bit more self-awareness.
But I also think, and I'm not defending him, I think the viewer often has a lot more understanding about we're hearing the story about how the trophies are made, and Lando didn't. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
For all he knew, and they could have just been printed that way. He didn't know they're all handmade, hand painted.
Right, exactly.
But it serves him right.
Yeah.
Before you speak.
Exactly. The next important thing that happened was the paddle quartet.
Zoe, I haven't been lit up like that.
I know.
Driver dinner. I mean, really, it sent me into orbit.
I thought of you because it is really sort of your drivers. So for those who maybe didn't see it, it was Max, Alex, George, and Lando. All got together in Monaco to play a little, game of paddle.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what the difference between paddle and pickleball is.
Well, but I don't know if in UK and Europe they just call pickleball paddle.
But it looks,
is it different?
It kind of looks different, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. But anyway,
that's too many sports for me.
It was funny that they made it into a photo shoot.
Oh, I was perfect.
The whole thing.
And I don't know who was. I wonder who was there. Who took the photos?
Was
Lily there orchestrating all of it?
It looked like a professional, like a legitimate photographer.
I wonder if it's for a campaign or something.
Maybe.
It doesn't matter. It was perfect.
And I wonder who the ringleader of it was. I sort of think it was because Alex, George, and Lando are the 2019 rookie, crew that do things together and content. And I feel Max is not a part of that, but I think he got brought in because of Lando.
Yes.
So I wonder who the was it? I feel it was either Alex or George. That was the starter, and then and then the rest followed.
Yeah, because to me, George is, I mean, he's the director of the Drivers Association or whatever it's called. Like, he's the guy who they all talk about doing something, and he's the one who's like, all right, guys, let's get a date on the calendar.
Yes.
And then he sends everyone a Google Calendar invite.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
He's me, which is really upsetting.
Does George live in Monaco? Because I didn't know that he did, but maybe he was just there for. I know that Lando and Alex and Max do. But anyway,
yeah, maybe he was just around for a visit.
Yeah, taking a little pause in between two races. And then the final thing that really lit me up was the Pierre Gasly, Yuki Tsunoda, cooking night that they had together. It was so
good,
wonderful. Pierre brought Yuki that chef's outfit. That's what Yuki said.
Of course he did.
That he brought it over. No, sorry. I think Yuki went to Pierre's. Apartment,
and Pierre had it for him.
And Pierre had it for him because at the end, for those who don't remember, at the end of last season when they were doing like their AlphaTauri goodbye video, Pierre said to Yuki, like, you can finally come over to my apartment, because Yuki had been asking to go over to his apartment.
Oh,
I think it was like kind of a joke, but like, you know, he's like, now you can come over.
Like, it was because they were teammates, he couldn't come over.
Or just because Pierre's kind of like, you're not allowed to come over to my, just joking, whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he invites Yuki over, and Yuki said in that, because he was asked about it in his press conference, and he said something like Pierre didn't know where anything was in his kitchen. He was like, I don't think he ever cooks there, because like he didn't know where any of his pots or pans or plates were.
It's a miracle he has pots and pans.
Yeah, I'm sure someone just like put it there for
Stocked
him.
Yeah.
But look, I think they made fried rice, which is always a great great dish.
Great dish.
Kika was there.
Loved that.
Which, she was just like, okay, fine, I'll be there.
I'll third wheel. I mean, for the most iconic moment of the season, maybe. One of them.
One of them for sure. Yeah. So I wonder how I would love to see what that looked like, that dynamic. Was she just sort of like in the corner because they're dominating?
Yeah.
Was she involved?
Yeah.
How does Yuki feel about her being there? Was he like, you're taking
Yeah, I want to know what Kika and Yuki's relationship is like. Like, are they friends? Does he trust her? I worry that, because I don't know a thing about. But also the video of her watching.
That was
Pierre
very cute.
Really sweet.
That was really cute.
Nice. And I love that they're all just sitting on the floor watching.
Yeah, and she had like multiple screens. I think she was like watching like his onboard and then, like the actual race.
Yeah,
whatever.
I truly can't imagine like having any like significant relationship with the driver.
Yes.
Truly, like, because the anxiety I have based on the parasocial relationship I have with these people, I would just be beside myself.
Yeah, if it's your brother, your son, your cousin, as we said, your friend, like even if you just like know him, it would be stressful
for sure.
Yeah, so
we should add, I feel like at the end of, when we do the end of season awards, there should be a like off-grid collab award, like the not collab is not the right word, but just like
off-track moment.
Yeah.
I mean, these are two. I mean,
they're pretty good.
All three of them actually. Max and Lando, the quartet, and then Pierre and Yuki are all up there as a possible winners. And I guess too, Yuki said that they filmed it. They filmed it. So they know what the people
they've been listening. I know they listen, or someone's listening, and we literally put this in. Well, yes, but we literally put this in the universe. I said all we want is Yuki cooking videos.
Oh, that's true. We did say that,
and then I think it was on the internet, not just the podcast. And then it's happening. Since
we've seen each other, I've watched The Bear, which for those who don't know is a show about a restaurant and
it's
cooking, and I have, now that I've seen it, I'm picturing Yuki in that environment as a chef.
Yes.
And I'd be curious to see that.
Angry.
He's got the right. Yeah. He has the, what's the word I'm looking for? Like
tone.
He's not afraid to like call people out.
Yeah.
People. I do worry that he doesn't have he can't keep it all together. He's going to be a little bit. He's going to run hot.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is he's so, when he's not in a competitive or like high stress environment, he's so loosey goosey.
Yeah. He's
that you just
silly.
Never know when he's just going to like turn into, you know, I feel like that would make it for a tense work environment.
Very tense. But, we do support Yuki's dream of opening up a restaurant.
Absolutely.
In fact, we really encourage it. And,
and if you need any, PR.
My mom is now obsessed with, because she's watched the show and now she's obsessed with like anything that has to do with working in a kitchen or like the cooking because of just like how OCD everybody is, like
Yeah.
the obsessiveness about like things being in the right order and placement and like, you know, how things are run is just so. My mom is also available, Yuki, if you need like a I don't know, someone to work front of house or something like that.
Oh, should be great.
Keep things organized. I'm
Yeah.
volunteering her for that position.
Should say yes.
I'm not sure where your restaurant will be located. I actually don't know where he'd put the restaurant because I don't know what he would want to do. Would he want to do like, I could see him doing like an Italian restaurant.
Yeah. And I mean, he could put whatever restaurant he wants anywhere he wants.
Yes. I just don't, is it going to be an Italian? Is it going to be in Italy? Would he be back in Japan?
Yeah.
Would he, who knows? I could see like a London moment.
I like the London moment.
Yeah.
Idea.
I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
So
maybe by Silverstone next year.
Yeah. Come on, Yuki, get to it. Chop, chop. Okay, anything else that happened off track or anything else that you want to discuss before we get into the weekend?
I think those are all the hot buttons that I had memory of. If I'm honest, it was like I felt like this weekend was my first race weekend after the summer break because I watched last weekend, but it was disjointed because I was traveling. So it's good to be back.
Yes. Okay, let's get into the weekend. So not a lot to discuss about practice. Nothing too interesting happened in any of the sessions. Felipe Drugovich, who's the Aston Martin reserve, did drive in place of Lance at FP1. And then Lance, unfortunately, had a problem in FP2, some sort of engine issue. So he couldn't really do any laps. And then this leads me into qualifying because Lance qualified P20.
I'm worried about Lance.
And I think we need to have a conversation. I mean, I had a conversation about it last week, but I think we continue because who was it? I don't know if it was Mike Crack or someone else came out from the Aston Martin team and was basically like, sort of like Lance is fine. Like his pace is there, like basically saying everything's good. And like, there's nothing to be concerned about in terms of which obviously we know that these people say shit that they don't mean,
but
it's not true.
Don't underestimate our knowledge.
And my dad was saying this the other week because he was like, well, Lance is 9th in the championship. Like Lance is 9th. And I'm like, and I think Fernando's still 3rd. But I think like the gap is pretty small between him and I think it's Lewis is next in line. But I'm like, yeah, but Fernando has had how many podiums this season and Lance hasn't even come close to a podium. Like there is a disparity there.
Yeah.
There's a big disparity. And this is what I hate about Formula One. Like it's just, it's these types of situations.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and I get it. I understand the situation.
Sure.
I understand that his father owns the team and this is just the way that it goes. But it doesn't mean it's not annoying.
So I have a theory and I was thinking about it today and I don't really think there's a lot of merit to it, but I'd still like to share it with the class.
Like most of your theories.
Well, look, it's more an opinion.
Yeah, but that's what
fun thought.
What theory is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
conspiracy.
I remember, obviously, well, not just me. Most of us remember when Lance had his injury at the beginning, injuries, plural, at the beginning of the season. Yeah, he broke both of his wrists. Honestly, thank goodness, because without that having happened, Daniel wouldn't have the magician doctor that Lance had. So, Chinese farmer. And in my mind, I was so impressed with how much he rehabbed and like how quickly he came back and how seriously he was taking it. And now he seems now I also know that we're getting like these random video clips and you have absolutely no idea what just happened. Like there was that video of them all coming out of like the driver's meeting or whatever they were coming out of, and Lance is like sort of awkwardly in the back, and that doesn't really mean anything. Like it adds, like just like any paparazzi picture or anything, like we can add it to like reasons why our narrative is correct.
Yes.
But also it might have no merit whatsoever.
Exactly.
But he's not driving very well. And I know we've talked about the tennis thing. I don't really know how
he disputed that.
Okay, they all dispute everything.
I mean, he made like a joke, like, well, if I'm going to start, I got to start working on my backhand now. Like, I think he basically was like, this is a stupid rumor.
Okay, that's fine. But I don't know. Anyway, my thought was that if he was really trying to get out, and not that he was going to be like at Wimbledon next year or something, I don't think that that's the case. But if he was wanting to move out of Formula One and do something else, the rehab was more to get him to be able to keep getting ready to do something else. Mm-hmm. Like, I almost wonder if he's being as bad as he's being, so his dad has no choice but to let him go. And I'm not joking. He seems incredibly unhappy.
But see, I think if I was Lance and I really didn't want to do it, I would do my best, but then I would say like, I'm ready for a new, you'd spin it. You'd be like, I'm ready for a new challenge. I'm going to move to IndyCar, or I'm going to try something new. Like you wouldn't
allowed. Like, I know that, I mean,
think he is I mean, he's a grown man. He can do whatever he wants.
Okay,
and we also don't know this is the other thing is like his whole contract. We don't really, there's like no details out there about his contract whatsoever. It's like almost just like he's on a rolling, but like there
like
is
a month
no
to month.
yeah, there is no details. Everyone else, you at least know like, okay, it's a 2-year, it's a 2+1, it's a 3, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But for Lance, there is like no information out there. So, you know, you'd have to imagine that it's not like it's not like he's bound by anything that we know of to keep him in the seat. And we said this before with Lawrence, he has a responsibility to his shareholders, to the company of Aston Martin as a whole, to be delivering the best team. And we know, I mean, they could definitely get, I'm not sure who it would be. Well, I mean, there's a chance it could be Yuki because of the Honda partnership that's coming up, but like maybe even an Alex Albon. There's a driver that could go, or a range of driver that I think would want to go to Aston Martin. That would be better than Lance.
I agree.
And it's just like last year with Lando and Daniel, like it was so clear and obvious that Daniel was bad that it's like, yeah, of course he needs to be replaced.
Right.
Like this is not a, well, this thing kind of happened and he was unlucky. It's like he's much slower than the other guy. And this is the same case.
Yeah.
And it's sort of frustrating. And again, it's just how it is, but it's frustrating that with Daniel or in any other driver's case, when this happens, it's like, okay, well, they're out.
Yeah.
But with Lance, it's like, well, I don't know.
And I wonder I genuinely wonder how much of that actually weighs on his mind. Like, he's not immune to it. He knows, I mean, he hears, you know, the conversations going on. He's friends with some of these people who like probably, you know, even if they've known him forever, like they're friends, whatever, they hang out, but there's also still this like probably resentment of some kind. And it's just like, those were the cards that Lance was dealt.
Yeah.
And, you know, if he wants to stay in, then he gets to, and it's frustrating and annoying, but I don't know. I'll be curious to see what happens. Cause again, from the like pictures and videos and stuff we've seen, it definitely like we're able to add it to the narrative pretty easily that he's unhappy, but that doesn't mean it's true.
The video, for those of you who didn't see it, like truly everybody else is walking out talking to somebody else.
With like random people too.
They're like chatting, whatever. Like honestly, every single person. And then Lance is just like pulling up the rear just by himself.
Yeah, looks kind of, the look on his face could have just been like his resting face, but it also kind of looked like, it can also look like I feel left out and awkward. No one's talking to me, but like he might have had to stay back and he was chatting with someone in the room.
Sure.
Like, there's so many things that could have happened that we don't know about.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely added to the like, oh my God, he's so unhappy.
Yeah. And I honestly, I would like to see Lance, like if Lance went to IndyCar, that would be kind of fun.
I think it'd be great.
I would be interested in that. I just feel like, yeah. And I mean, again, his best race was probably at the very beginning of the season after his injury. Like, I think he got P6 in Bahrain, maybe, and somewhere else. And since then, it's just been, I think he will get one more year to like sort of close the gap. And then after next year, if it's still this big of a disparity, I think then I just don't see how you have how you have any more choice.
Yeah.
Because I think also I've heard people say that, that Aston Martin kind of like sort of because I guess Lance was very close to Sebastian Vettel when Seb was at Aston Martin, like in terms of pace and stuff, I think they kind of assumed that, oh, well, Seb's a 4-time champion and Lance is on pace with him. So when Fernando comes in, like it shouldn't be quite so bad. And obviously like Esteban and Fernando had a good battle. I mean, they were very close. I know that they had tons of reliability issues and stuff too that affected, and Fernando had terrible luck. But you know, it wasn't like Fernando was crushing Esteban.
Right.
So I think they probably felt like, well, Lance can keep up with him. No, we can't.
Well, not with the new car they have.
No. So anyway, we'll see how that transpires over the course of the next, I guess, couple of months and maybe next year and maybe 10 years. Lance will still be driving along.
Yeah, maybe.
Not a ton else to talk about in terms of other people's quali. I mean, I felt like Liam Lawson had a really good qualifying. He was like within a 10th of Yuki, which was very impressive. Obviously Carlos Sainz gets pole, which was very exciting. Very happy for him. Nice to see that, you know, I think we all kind of know, like, even if Max doesn't get pole, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really mean anything, but it is nice. It's in terms of just like enjoying qualifying. It's nice when it's not Max
Yes. And it seemed like, first of all, I haven't seen Charles smile like that in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also seemed like Max, in the same way that he was excited for Lando, like he seemed genuinely excited for everybody else.
I think he also just understands, he recognizes this doesn't really matter.
Yeah, of course.
Like he's just like, yeah, it doesn't really affect anything for me. I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
This isn't like end all be all, like it maybe would be at a different place or a different time when his car wasn't quite as good.
Yeah, I mean, he could have DNF'd in qualifying and still won today.
Right.
So
right. So anyway, that was fun. And good for the fans, good for the Tifosi to have a little.
I will say,
spot.
and like this is just me being annoying, but I really, the booing really gets on my nerve for anybody. I just think it's completely unnecessary. I mean, I also think in this environment, it's so interesting because like at a football game or a basketball game, I feel like a lot of the booing ends up being geared towards the refs. And here it's geared towards one human being.
Yeah, I mean, there is booing to a team, but it's to a team.
To a team. Yeah. So there's like more of a collective
Tennis
thing.
does get some boos though.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But I guess to me, it's just like the Tifosi are beautiful, wonderful, loyal human beings, and I love them and I appreciate who they are and what they do. Boo Ferrari, not Charles or Carlos. Yell at the team who's made their season so difficult. It's not Max's fault.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just annoyed me.
I err on the kind of like, it's not like so. Like I remember, when I think it was Mexico last year. Actually, what they need is Checo's dad to show up because remember Mexico last year. I think it was Lewis was getting booed, and Checo's dad was like, no, like waving his finger at the fans, which was kind of fun.
Oh, I love Checo's dad.
Yeah, he's always on.
I wish Checo had Checo's dad's personality.
Well, Checo's dad is like a politician, so it probably explains why he's has the
that's fair
sort of every personality or can relate to people well. But and we know that Checo's dad and Lewis's dad have a nice little bromance going on, so maybe that was part of it as well.
True.
So it's like that's kind of it happens. Lots of places.
And I totally get it.
What I'm saying, I say that to say that like it's sort of everyone kind of gets booed everywhere. So I don't feel like it's like this person's only ever getting booed everywhere they go. It's like everyone kind of gets a booing.
Oh yeah, and it's not even about Max being booed. I think it's embarrassing for the people who are booing.
Yeah.
Because basically you're booing someone for being better.
Yes.
And I think that's counterintuitive and silly.
Yes. Yeah. It wasn't like he egregiously crashed into Charles and Carlos and caused a whole situation. And then, I get you. Okay. The race. Immediately.
I'm like, I just got stressed all over again.
Yuki. And I saw his car on the side. I was just like,
devastating.
Are you fucking kidding me right now?
I know.
Like, poor Ukes. It just sucks. It sucks. Like that is so much. That is the worst. Like that's honestly worse. That might be the worst because you don't even get a shot.
Yeah.
You truly are just at the mercy of your engine, and your engine just says goodbye, and you are the weakest link. It was funny when he like gets in the tow truck and he's like waving to the crowd.
Driver's parade.
And that's what my dad was saying as they were driving around. I'm like, I wonder if he's just like waving. He should have stayed in the Alpha Tauri in the back of the truck and just like stood and waved to the crowd. But I wonder what he did after that. Did he just like
I took a nap?
Yeah, I was like, I'm done for the day. Probably got some food.
Yeah.
But that's
watch
just
Pierre.
That's not his own teammate. That just sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
That sucks. And I really felt bad for him. And we'll get into the whole AlphaTauri sort of situation right now later. But whenever you just don't get a chance at starting a race is never fun.
Yeah.
Carlos managed to hold off Max at the start and held off for about 15 laps. But again, inevitable. Like he always, I mean, what does Thanos say when he snaps his fingers? I am inevitable.
Yeah.
That is Max Verstappen.
For sure.
He's got his infinity stones and it's just like game over, bitch.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
And I don't know. I mean, I know there was a couple of times where like I feel like the strategy with Red Bull was that with Max, they were just like, just chill for a little while. Like just
it was funny. It was like he was at times, I think, a little bit too like overly optimistic to make a move in certain places. And it's like
you don't have to
do that.
Yeah.
Like just wait, bide your time. You're fine. That's how I felt about a couple of and I heard from people that said like Monza's actually kind of a tough not always the easiest in terms of passing. And so I feel like people were trying to pass at certain points where I'm like, oh, this is a little bit risky. But anyway, valiant effort from Carlos to at least not get jumped at the start. I mean, we're at the bottom of the barrel in terms of what we consider to be like positive.
Yeah.
Like, well, at least he didn't get passed right at the very beginning.
Yeah.
It was sort of a battle. And then, I mean, not a ton happened in the race. It wasn't like the most crazy race, I would say. You had the Lewis Oscar kind of like scrap at the end there.
Yeah. I didn't even know that Ocon got out.
I didn't either. I got up to go get some food from the fridge, and I turned to the TV and I was like, wait, Ocon is out? I don't know what happened. Do you know what happened to him?
No, I still don't. And like everyone I was messaging with was like, wait, when did Ocon get out?
Yeah.
I think for the first time in so many races, there was so much happening at the front that we barely saw anything.
Saying. Yes, like it was that battle between Max and Checo was all that they showed. So there was other stuff going on, but we didn't see any of it.
Yeah.
Which I mean is fine, but that's how it goes. But yeah, I remember he was kind of towards the back and he was getting kind of past. I think like Liam passed him, maybe Joe passed him. And it was like, okay, I thought it was just his tires were wearing off and he had to like pit, but then all of a sudden he was done. I mean, Alpine had a bad weekend, and like they were saying after qualifying, because they qualified terribly as well. It's just crazy how you can go from being a podium finisher one weekend and then the very next weekend you are out in Q1. I mean, that's really like that's the story of the season.
Yeah.
It's like if Red Bull was not a part of F1, it was just the other 9 teams, like you truly would be like going into every weekend, I don't know who's going to win.
Yeah,
because any track, anything can change. And like, obviously Monza, it's long straights. It's all about downforce, top speed. So any team that have obviously good straight line speed, but also really good engines do very well. It's not a very technical track. So that's why oftentimes you'll see like the gaps are a lot closer, because there's not as much room to like take a corner wide or a turn wide, because there are, I think, only 11 turns in Monza. And Pierre said after qualifying yesterday, he was like, we just don't have like the engine. Like it's just not good enough, which the Renault engine's kind of always been sort of bad. I guess not always bad, but for the last few years, like I don't think there's really any teams that, I mean, there's a reason why Alpine's the only team that runs a Renault engine.
Yeah.
Because no one else wants it.
Yeah.
So Lewis got a penalty after that little thing with Oscar. Oscar then had to pit, change his front wing. Then this is towards the end of the race. And then Oscar comes out. He was like right on Liam Lawson's tail at like the very end, like for the last few laps, but tried to be like overly optimistic and tried to pass him and then gained the advantage. But it was too late to like take back, because typically if you gain an advantage going off the track, then they just say like, give the place back.
Yeah.
But they didn't. And then he gets a 5-second penalty. And I feel like that was it was the right call, but I don't know why Oscar just didn't wait to make that move a little bit later when you had, because he was right there. I think he would have passed him eventually. Like he had a couple laps left, but it ultimately hurt him more than like just waiting around. Yeah, have hurt him. So anyway, not a great not great at all time for Oscar. George got a penalty. I think again it was like same thing, running a driver off the track. I can't remember. Maybe it was Checo.
Yeah, maybe.
I know, because I know George and Checo were kind of battling for a while there. I couldn't remember exactly what the George penalty was for. Yeah, I mean, Alpine was very, very slow. The Charles and Carlos battle,
stressful.
I was just like, I liked it. It was fun. And part of me is happy Ferrari let them just fight it out.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
But I was like, oh my God, are they going to take each other out?
Well, at one point I was like when, I don't know what happened with Charles, but because it was all just like, I was so manic about the whole thing, but I really did think that Charles was about to crash. And I was just like, that would literally be the worst.
And I get it, because they're fighting for I don't think they would have been fighting this hard if it was for 4th place. I think because it was the last podium spot, Charles was like, well, yeah, I'm going to try to go for this. Which is totally fair.
Yeah.
But it was just a little bit stressful, and I was just like, please don't do this. I mean, we haven't really seen, I guess we saw Pierre and Esteban teammate on teammate crime a couple times this season, but it was never because they were racing. It was incidental, like the Australia thing
adjacent to each other.
Yeah, and then obviously the thing that happened was at Hungary when Daniel ran into whoever who ran into whoever.
Oh yeah,
but we haven't seen like truly two cars from the same team. I guess was Lando and Oscar had a bit of a thing, but truly crash into each other. I'm thinking about the Daniel and Max Baku.
What a moment
situation. Like that would just be like, oh my god.
Yeah. That was
bad.
Crazy. Yeah.
That was bad. That was the ending at the end for Ricardo.
Sure was.
So anyway, I was happy that Carlos got third because he hasn't had a podium this season. So I was like happy that he
so
it was his first one. So it was
birthday weekend.
Yes, birthday weekend, Virgo energy. I was happy for him that he did well. I feel like Checo performed pretty well this weekend. Obviously, I think he qualified maybe 5th, so like okay, but got P2.
Yeah.
And I really think we need to put to bed for good the thought that Checo is going to be replaced.
And I hear what you're saying, but nothing can be put to bed until there's an announcement.
That, I mean, literally that is true.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, let's stop pretending like his seat is at risk.
Yeah. No, I don't know that anyone truly believes it's at risk.
I think some
really
people do. Yes. Yes. I think there are a lot of people that feel like he will be replaced, or people just talk about it like it's just like, yeah. And you know, I think Checo will be replaced. It's like, you guys, maybe if his contract was up, you could say that, because it's like, well, even if Red Bull was just like, we don't really like Checo anymore, we're going to replace him. They could do that, obviously, if his contract was coming up.
But they just don't need to.
But they don't need to. There is no reason for them to do that. And like, it's too big of a risk. I think the risk reward is not. It's a bigger risk to replace Checo now with people you don't really know how. I mean, obviously, the AlphaTauri thing is so in flux.
Yeah,
there's no one else that's gonna. I don't think that they want for that seat right now. So it's like, it's gonna be Checo.
Yeah,
and I think we all just need to. And he's doing well enough to earn the seat. It's not like, again, he's performing subpar.
Well, and this is what you said, like before the summer break, was like his struggles probably weren't going to like last through the rest of the season.
Right. Yeah.
Which so far,
I do think my prediction is that Checo will not renew his contract next season. I do think somebody else will be in that Red Bull seat post 2024. Obviously not sure who that's going to be, but I would be pretty shocked if Red Bull continued with Checo. But I do think he will have the seat. I would say 99% certainty. That's my prediction. Unless, again, like something just
crazy happens.
And I don't even know what that could be.
I don't either.
I mean, maybe he DNFs the next 10 races or whatever, how many races are left.
8
races in a row, which is not going to happen. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't either.
I did want to talk about, and we should also just say too, because he deserves it, Max broke.
Yes, he did.
The streak.
Yeah.
10 race wins in a row, broke Sebastian Vettel's record of 9 race wins, and matched his own record, or beat his own record as well. Which is just super impressive.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I think most, even you being a Max fan, it's like most F1 fans maybe don't want to see that kind of record happen.
Sure.
But you can't deny it's impressive. It's very, very impressive. And obviously Red Bull is just killing the game.
Yeah.
I mean, genuinely.
Yeah. He also broke the Monza curse.
I mean, Max is he broke the curse also. I think there was a curse in Bahrain that, like, if you qualified, I can't remember what the curse is, but he broke that earlier this year as well. So he really just, nothing touches him.
No.
I think he made some sort of deal as a child.
His father certainly did.
Yeah.
His dad took care of that, so Max didn't have to.
Exactly.
And it's paying dividends.
Yes, it is. He is just killing it. So congratulations to Max. Congratulations to Red Bull. Will they go for number 11? Will they go for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16? I mean, it seems pretty likely. It's inevitable at this point. Again, Thanos. So we'll see what happens. I don't think this record will be beaten. I mean, maybe at some point. I mean, I guess it definitely could be, but I just think if they can continue on like this, it's going to be very difficult for anyone ever in the history of F1 to beat that kind of record, because that's pretty pretty crazy. I wanted to talk about Logan as well.
Yeah.
Because he got a 5-second penalty. Again,
I don't know why.
I think it was another like running someone off the road.
Oh, it was. I can't remember who it was with. Oh,
causing
no.
a collision.
Yeah, who was it with?
I don't know.
Botas.
Okay. But
we never saw it.
We never saw it. We didn't see most of these. I'm just, what do you think about his future? Because I feel like I felt this way last week too. Like, this was the track Williams was going to really do well at because they have the best straight line speed. It's like Nick DeVries got points here last year. Again, it's not super technical. So it's not like if you're a first time F1 driver, it's going to be a really challenging track to drive on. Like, I think they drive it in F2 as well.
Yeah.
I know they do. And it's like he didn't get points here. And I don't know. Do you think he's going to keep his seat?
I have such a hard time with rookies because
you think he deserves.
Well, in one aspect, it's like, well, Oscar's also a rookie and he's killing it. But they have different cars, different, they're just different human beings.
And Oscar was like a generational talent. You know, Oscar came in as like 1 F2 his first season.
Totally.
It just killed. I mean, he is a world champion contender. And I don't know that people say that about Logan.
Yeah.
They don't.
No, they don't. I've never heard anyone. No offense. I just like, I've never heard people. Yeah. There's a lot, most of the grid, they've never said that about.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just always wonder, especially with a team like Williams, it's always just interesting to me of like, is it riskier to keep the rookie for another year and see if he can improve, or to get a new driver and then go back, do a whole nother year with a whole nother rookie? I'm not really sure. I mean, in my mind, it seems like you give Logan one more year to like, figure things out, and then but maybe not. And I know that there's been a lot of conversation about Mick getting that seat. I would love to see Mick back in Formula One, but if Mick, like the reason that Mick was released from Haas is a reason that I don't think Williams can risk, which is and obviously I'm sure he's he's working with Toto. Like, I don't know how much like work he's done outside. I'm sure a ton. And so he could be very different, and it could be a completely different environment for him, and he could thrive there. Yeah. But it almost seems like equal risk to me. What is actually happening is different, but it seems like, I don't know. It's hard to.
I know what you're saying. I also wonder, and this can lead us into the last point I want to make about the race, which is the AlphaTauri situation. But you do kind of have to wonder what will transpire there, and so let's get into that conversation, because Liam is, and I really feel this way, I think Liam deserves an F1 seat next year. I feel like it is sort, you could say maybe it's too early to say, because last week it was such a unique race, and there was rain, and there was safety cars, and a race restart, and so the group got bunched up and everything. Like, I did feel like he did well to stay on the track and like finish the race, which is, I think, like priority one. And he did that, and many drivers didn't do that. Yeah. But he also, I think, benefited from all those other factors coming into play. Yeah. I think like a quarter of the grid didn't even finish the race. This week, obviously, right on pace with Yuki, did very well. I think finished P11 because Oscar had that penalty. Bumped up past Nick and Daniel in the standings. But you could also say, well, it's Monza, it's not as technical. Nick got points here. But then, and people brought this point up too. It's like, well, the Williams was, again, it's a track that best suits the Williams. So it's like Nick getting points maybe isn't as impressive as we thought it was. Yeah. But, so I get all that stuff. And like, maybe he'll go to Singapore next week or a couple weeks if he does, which I think he will. And maybe he won't do, like, maybe he'll have a bad weekend, and then you're like, oh, maybe he's not ready. But I still think, because he is 21 years old, because that's the difference, right? Nick, experienced driver, right? All that stuff. Liam is, I think, 21,
which is crazy.
Yeah, so young, so inexperienced, and he's coming in and he's immediately, doing well. To me, and he's a Red Bull junior, so he is your guy. Yeah, like, he's the guy that you've fostered and you've grown over time. It's like, I think he gets more treatment or like beneficial treatment because of that.
Yeah.
And he could improve drastically. So I would keep, it's tough. I think they're in a really difficult position.
Yeah.
AlphaTauri, like genuinely. And I kind of wanted to do this with you, but I think you could honestly make a case as to why Yuki, Daniel, and Liam all deserve a seat. And I think it's a legitimate case.
Yeah.
Because you have Liam, again, as I said, young, inexperienced, but is immediately matching the pace of Yuki.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like,
okay. Yeah.
Which is good.
Well, yeah.
The downside of Liam, I guess you could say, is he is inexperienced. And you know, what would happen over the course of a season.
Yeah.
He doesn't, and this is just how F1 works again, but like, because he's new and young, it's like, he doesn't have a lot of, I mean, I don't know what like the market is like in New Zealand in terms of like gaining sponsorships from having a Kiwi on the grid, but like, I don't think he's bringing along a bunch of money and sponsors the way that like Joe would, or did, or has. Yuki, pros, he's been at the team for so long, has had a full season, has scored the only points for the team, is fast. I'm curious about the Honda partnership.
I feel like the Honda partnership stands until the time is up.
But my curiosity is more so like, is there a thing in place that says,
like an actual,
is there an actual thing that says a Japanese driver needs to be on the grid, or is it more just like that person again gets preferential treatment?
Yeah,
I don't know. I think it's interesting because does Red Bull say, well, we don't have the future with Honda, so therefore it's like he can't be in our future plans? I think it could go either way.
Yeah.
Cons against Yuki, Liam immediately matching his pace, rookie, never driven in F1.
Yeah.
And Yuki's been with the team 3 years, has been with his car the whole season. It's like, that's not great news.
No, it's not.
Then with Daniel,
and it sucks that Yuki couldn't race today.
Yes.
To like figure that out.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or at least have another data point.
Exactly. Daniel, pros. And it's also just funny that it's like we need Daniel in the car with Liam now. It's like we need to see all of them up against each other in different ways. Daniel, pro, obviously, yes, his being him being him. I mean, that is huge. A huge factor.
Yeah.
And I think I've said this before, but it's like with the rebrand of AlphaTauri to a new team, becoming more of a Red Bull quote unquote sister team, though they can't really have sister teams, but that's basically what they're going to be. You want someone like Daniel Ricciardo as your guy.
Yeah, I mean, from where I'm sitting, unless he is unless there's an issue with his healing from his injury, they're not Daniel's not the one changing. I don't think,
really,
because and we kind of talked about this off air, but Red Bull is a marketing machine. That is like their bread and butter. That's why they do what they do. They just like, you could not pick. Well, first of all, Christian loves the shit out of Daniel, which is great.
And Helmut does too.
And Helmut does too. We've talked about this before. I could see them potentially wanting to put Daniel in the Red Bull after Checo leaves.
Yeah.
So that means keeping him in and making sure that he's still driving. Potentially, this is all.
No, I know.
And if at the AlphaTauri Hugo Boss baby nonsense, whatever it's going to be called, is going to be as good as they are anticipating it to be, and the way that they've talked about it, Daniel's going to be great in that car.
Yeah.
Presumably, because he's been good in the actual Red Bull.
Yeah.
And I mean, what better face to go through a rebrand with? I mean,
I know.
Truly.
I know.
So the other thing for me is that I just want to be clear. I'm taking driving out of it because I know that that's important, but this is where my brain goes to.
I mean, unfortunately, again, as we said, like the Honda partnership, there are so many other factors that do contribute to the decision.
And I think Liam's great. I don't know. I haven't dug into him a lot, personality wise, and I'm sure he's incredible. I mean, he's a cute kid. I'm sure he's very marketable, but there's something magical about the Daniel Yuki thing. And from a marketing content perspective, it just kind of seems like a smart move. And is Yuki right now, and I get what you're saying about Liam matching Yuki's pace like instantly, but is Yuki can he do better when he has a better car?
Sure, but I guess we won't
know. Yeah, and neither will they. But
and the pros for Daniel, obviously recognizable, one of the most popular, famous F1 drivers on the grid. 10 years of that's the other thing too. When you're developing a new car with a new team, you do want a driver that has a lot of experience, and obviously Daniel has so much experience. And it's not every day that a mid-tier team can get a driver who's a former race winner, let alone 8-time race winner. Like these things, whatever you want to say about his McLaren form, which was bad, there's no that was bad, and that definitely puts a question mark in people's minds as to can he do it, but it's not every day that you get that. And again, pro first race back, having not driven a car competitively in 8 months or whatever, beats Yuki in qualifying, beats him in the race. Like, again, that's not so great for Yuki. Cons for Daniel is he's his age, certainly. Like it's like he's not going to be around for much longer. So it's like why not invest in the young guy who could be with us for a decade, whereas with this guy who could be with us for a couple years, is that worth it? And the fact that he had those bad years at McLaren, and you could say that is it just kind of has he reached his ceiling? You could say Liam has a really high ceiling and could be really far past Daniel, his ceiling, and Daniel, it's like maybe that's as good as it's going to get.
Yeah, well, and that's I think too part of me why I wonder if they do have any interest in down the road putting Daniel back in the Red Bull, do they want to keep him in AlphaTauri for a full season to see if what he's done is a fluke, or if it was him at McLaren that was the problem.
Right. So I genuinely don't know what's going to happen. I truly, they're definitely not going to make a decision until Daniel's back. And the ball is, I think, genuinely in Daniel's court. If Daniel comes back and he is if he's kind of not beating, if Daniel doesn't beat Yuki, I think Daniel's out. I think there's a high. I think Liam is honestly potentially the most guaranteed of the seat. In my opinion.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I just feel like he's done a really good job, well enough that I just can't see them not. What's he going to do? Sit on the sideline for another year?
Yeah.
Maybe they make a deal and put him in a different car, but they don't have any other. It's not like they have a engine partnership with any of the other seats available. Like, would Williams make a deal?
That's what I was just thinking.
With AlphaTauri or with Red Bull for that? Williams probably would want Liam Lawson.
Yeah, and money talks. If Red Bull says, "Hey, keep this guy warm for us while we finish out," I could see that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting, and I really genuinely do feel like whatever way they go, whether it's Liam, Yuki, Daniel, Liam, I think it's a good choice. I think you really can't go wrong with any of those pairings, at least as of right now. Maybe we'll get more information as the season progresses.
Yeah. What would be really convenient is if Lance did in fact decide that he is tired and would like to do something else. Yuki goes to Aston Martin and Daniel and Liam stay at AlphaTauri.
Yeah.
That'd be incredibly convenient.
It would really be fucking terrible if all of this, if really this would be crazy if the reason that Nick de Vries gets kicked out of F1 because Yuki is beating him so badly, which then leads to Yuki losing his seat. That just can't happen.
I know.
That just can't happen. It any way you look at it, it's just, that's why I feel like that's why part of me feels like Daniel's really in trouble.
Oh, I and maybe that's naive of me. I don't feel any fear for Daniel at all, because in my mind, I get what Helmut was saying with he didn't want to take Liam out of the race series that he was racing in because he was doing so well and yada yada. But in my opinion, if they didn't want Daniel back on a long-term basis, they would have just put Liam in the seat.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not. That's just sort of
your
feeling about it. It's like, why go through all of that? And I think they respect him enough to not tease him with something like that, only to be like, I mean, obviously no one anticipated him to get hurt,
this is all
but it's like, I don't,
brand new circumstances.
the only, like, I don't know. It's so Chinese farmer. Who knows? Maybe Daniel is like, will this change his mind? Like,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my gut instinct
What
says
did you say?
that Daniel is, to your point, it's in Daniel's court. Like, ball's in Daniel's court. If Daniel wants to stay, I think it's Daniel staying. And I want it to stay Yuki, but I think it'll be Liam.
See, what I mean by ball in his court is like he'll have the last say in the car. You know, he'll have the last 6, 7, depending on when he comes back, races. So it's like, if he wants to stay, he's got to prove it.
Oh yeah.
And if he doesn't prove it, he's out. I mean, that's really what I feel. But again, you could genuinely make a case for any of them, and I think you'd have a solid case.
Yeah.
So Red Bull's, it's kind of, I mean, it's a good problem for them to have. They're all 3 performing well.
Yeah.
But what also sucks about it is that somebody is going to be left being like,
and maybe I'm just putting too much emphasis on like the insane like analytics that came out about AlphaTauri socials when Daniel got re-signed, but it matters for them.
Yeah, I don't know if the social matters as much.
Well, no, I'm just saying the eyes on him. Like, that's just the only like real data point I have to see like
the money part of it.
Well, and just how much impact and influence that he has in the sport.
Yeah.
From fangirls and beyond.
It's really going to be interesting. I'm actually very curious. I mean, I'll be excited to see what ends up happening. It'll keep things interesting as we head towards the end of the season. I mean, I do hope all 3 of them will have a seat at the end of the year. That's really what I feel.
Yeah, it would be great if Liam, even if it was like some driver, deal, whatever, like, and it was only 1 year, like, it would be good to see Liam and the Williams. Or I
mean, maybe he could replace Joe.
Is Joe leaving?
There's rumors about that he might be,
because he wants to.
No, because they're like do
they not need his money anymore?
Well, I guess there's some, again, this is all a
speculation
rumor. Yeah, we kind of got into it last week a bit, but that I guess like he's not bringing in as much money as before or something. So because his seat and the Williams are the only 2 others besides AlphaTauri seats that are up for grabs.
When has his contract up?
I think the following year. Yeah, I wonder if Haas is wondering maybe we shouldn't have signed K-Mag back so quickly. With potential availability coming up.
I just don't think Haas can afford not to just keep who they have right now.
But you don't think they wouldn't want
but also like
Liam or Yuki? Or
how long will it be till we figure out? I mean, like, they would have had.
I know they could also wait until like the end. I mean, they could honestly wait till the end of the season. I would not be surprised if they waited. They
announce it before. Like,
well, I do think they're probably going to want to announce their driver lineup when they announce the new team.
Yeah, it's so true.
You would think.
I would. Yeah, I mean, that's the smartest thing to do. But the most eyeballs on it at once.
It's a really interesting. It's very, very, very interesting.
Have they changed the name?
I haven't heard anything about the name yet.
It can't be. It can't be Baby Boss or whatever. Boss Baby. Isn't that a movie? Won't Pixar like sue them or something?
Yeah. So anyway, we'll be curious to see. And all signs point to Daniel not being available to race in Singapore in a couple weeks because I guess, Singapore is a very physical track. And so like because of that, the nature, I think that's probably like not the smartest move.
Yeah.
I think people think, it's iffy for Singapore and then it's Japan after that. And they think definitely Qatar, which is, I think, like a week after Japan. But maybe Singapore, maybe. I wonder how he feels. I wonder what's going to
I'm curious because it's also so interesting because he really just went from 0 to 100 so fast. It was like, bus club.
And I know that he didn't want to come back this year, but he did because he knew if Liam got in the seat, he might not ever have the seat again.
Which is just so interesting. And this is, again, it's like, I'm so glad we have the Chinese farmer fable because it's just, it helps just, go through the motions with that. Because I saw this meme maybe today or yesterday. Have you seen it, like the dominoes and like how much bigger they get? It's like starts off with Alex's appendix and then Nick, and then at the it's like Daniel's metacarpal and then Liam Lawson in the seat. And it's just like, man, when you really do go back to it, it's like because Alex Albon had to get his appendix taken out, Liam Lawson's driving in Formula One right now.
Yuki Tsunoda loses his seat.
Not yet. That's not part of the dominoes yet.
And I don't want that. Let me just say I don't want that.
No.
You know, yeah, it is quite something. And that is true. Like you only with time are you then able to see, you know, how truly things can shape out. So
which is so annoying and cliche, but it's just,
it is true. And the other thing too, it's like we as fans, you know, we truly have zero control over what is happening.
I know, except for driver of the day.
Right, exactly. We cannot, you know, do anything about these people getting seats. So it's truly like what is going to be is going to be, and you just have to live with that situation.
It would just be like, and I know this isn't how business works, but it would just be helpful if like we could just know now, you know. Like when I first became a fan, I was told that silly season is when everything changed, and then they start again and you have all the answers, and that's categorically untrue. We probably won't have answers until the season starts. Like, I mean, when Drive to Survive comes out next year.
Right. Anyway,
like, Mattia
Binotto,
yeah. What the hell?
Yeah. We'll see.
Sorry, I'm a little behind. Like my weeks are off kilter.
I know. So anyway, that'll be fun. I'm trying to think of what I would predict, and I genuinely cannot think of a prediction right now. I feel like I'm very
You know what I was thinking today?
confused. What?
I hope Almar's doing well.
I know. I think he is.
That's good.
All right, pyramid. Bottom of the pyramid, we have Alpine. Shit weekend from them. Both got out in Q1. Esteban DNFs. Pierre was like nowhere to be found. Just
and then they had the pit stop issue where the front jack couldn't get up,
and then his brakes were overheating and
classic.
But you know, I don't really feel bad. I mean, Pierre had his podium last week. Our first ever Pierre podium, so I'm all good. Next bottom of the pyramid is Yuki, because while we've thought his seat was safe,
TBD.
Maybe it's not. And it's really just it's a tough.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. And for Yuki and Daniel to be like fighting it out.
Yeah.
It's just tough.
It is tough.
But you know, hopefully.
But I'm glad that you told me yesterday that you are doing much better about this whole thing, and like mentally you're calm, cool, collected about the results, which is great news and so much growth. I just wanted to let everyone know, give you credit where credit is due.
Well, I think it's because we did have a period of time when Daniel was not in F1, and in a lot of ways I enjoyed it more.
Yeah, right.
Because he wasn't in it, and it was a lot more. You know, there wasn't this impending dread that I was feeling. It was like, okay, F1 weekend, this is fun. I can be in. I'm not so emotionally invested in it.
Right.
So I feel like if that's the case, then that's the case. And
amen.
Daniel will be doing something in some capacity, and it's all good.
Yeah, I think he's doing another Enchante drop, which is like, please stop.
He's got to make money somehow.
That's fair.
And then the next bottom of the pyramid is Oscar Piastri, because he just kind of had a shitty time with the incident with Lewis, having to then pit front wing, then coming back out, penalty, just wasn't the best. Had that little battle with his teammate.
Yeah.
Tough.
Still gotta say though, it's incredible how level-headed he is.
So calm.
It's gotta be an Aussie thing.
So calm. That's kind of, I feel like I was actually thinking about this. Who do you think you'd be like? Like, what driver on the radio do you think you're most like?
George.
Okay. I don't think you're quite as like posh as George.
No. I mean, I don't talk with that accent. Or like maybe Lando. Like today, like when I'm in a really like tense and someone points something out that's obvious to me, I'm like, yeah, I know. I see, like I kind of get like that, which is maybe like why sassy. I defend some of their like, because I just know that like, yeah, it's a shitty thing to say, but like everyone in this like conversation is aware that it's high stress, high stakes. The engineer is literally required to be level. And the driver can't be most of the time, most drivers. So yeah, I think
because I'm kind of like Oscar.
Yeah.
Just like what was that person thinking there?
Yeah.
Like I don't really ever get like super.
Or like you said when Lando was coming out, I think it was during quali, and he was like, "Why is everyone being so stupid?"
It's the calm voice with just the like
punch of a delivery.
Exactly. Yeah. Not the like heightened emotional state like some
like
of them.
Me.
Well, like Charles has that, or you know, Max. Like just the really intense. Response.
I could see myself being like Max in the way that I like always need to know what everyone else is doing. Even though I don't.
And like someone's trying to talk to you calmly and You're like, I don't care about that. Like, kind of like,
tell me what I asked.
Right. Or just like, it doesn't matter. Like,
yeah. And then
Uh,
I'd apologize after. Honestly, I would just have to apologize at the beginning and end of the season just to like
all the time.
cover. No, I'm probably not after every race. I feel like that would be silly.
Middle of the pyramid, we have Liam Lawson, as we've said. I mean, I think he deserves better than mid, but like he'd had a really good race.
Yeah, he did.
Qualified very well. Again, solid performance. I mean, he's not doing a ton of like overtaking or like he's just being consistent. I think he started 11th or maybe 12th. Finished 11th. Obviously, Yuki DNF'd, and there was some other, Oscar penalty and whatnot. But he's doing a very good job. Like, I mean, it has to be said. He is really crushing the game.
It's really impressive.
I think that's my feeling, which is like, if you're Liam, you got to say to yourself, like, what else do I have to do?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe get a point, but like, what more do you need from me to like get a seat next year?
And he's also in a like, I know that he knows that there's obviously the chance to get a seat here right now, but I can also see that he's gone, like I can imagine he's gone in with this perspective of like, I'm subbing, I'm just a sub, so I have to do my best, but like it almost seems like he hasn't put anything on the line for him. Like, when actors say like when they go into an audition and they're just like, I don't even want this thing, and they go in and kill it and they get it and it's all great. Like that sort of seems, I don't know, and maybe that's not even true, but that's just how it sort of seemed to me. If he's just like really just settled in already and is just doing it
with two ways, because it is kind of like, this is it. This is your chance. It is high stakes, high pressure. You may not have another shot at this, so it's like that's intense. But yes, he also might be like, I'm just gonna do what I can and do the best I can, and I'll be curious to see him in Singapore because, again, it's so difficult. It's so technical, street course. Like, I don't know that he's ever done a street track. I guess maybe he's done Monaco. I don't know if he's in Monaco. But like that's going to be a real test of someone's ability. And this is obviously pending Daniel's not coming back, but I don't think he would. And then Checo's the next in the middle of the pyramid, just, decent qualifying, but solid race.
Yeah.
P2. Did a good job, did a lot of overtaking. I felt like it was a good performance from him.
And he did great.
Good job. Clackers. And then top of the pyramid today, we have Carlos Sainz. Pole position.
Birthday boy
getting his first podium of the weekend or of the season, holding off his teammate. It was a good weekend from him. And I think I saw it's the 10th driver to be on a podium this season.
Oh wow.
Half of the grid has been on a podium.
That's great.
Which is kind of crazy.
I don't think we remember that enough.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 10 because we've got Max and Checo, Charles and Carlos, Lewis and George, Pierre and Ocon, Lando and Fernando. 10.
Yeah.
And you could honestly say Oscar's is incoming. I mean, Oscar probably.
I know sometimes when I'm going through the podiums in my head, I also think about the quali interviews. And so I was like, wasn't Oscar already on it? He wasn't. He just.
Yeah. Anyway. So that's exciting.
That is exciting.
And then honorable mention to Max, obviously incredible weekend.
Yeah.
Breaking the streak. But again, as we said previously, we can't give Max the top pyramid every single week. It's just would be a little bit.
Also, it looks like Nico Rosberg lost his charm as well because he posted a photo this morning and no issues.
Well, they didn't win.
Well, but they were never going to win.
You never know.
I do.
Could be the Nico Rosberg curse.
If the way that things seem to go, if Max's car is still operational, no one else is winning.
Right. That's
So,
all right. Fan and foe of the week. Would you like to go first?
Yes. Let me get my handy dandy.
Or I can go first while you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So my should we do foe first or fan?
Doesn't matter.
I'll do foe first. My foe is obviously Yuki not even starting the race. It was just like, just sad.
Yeah, it's a real bummer.
That's all.
Okay. My foe, and it's like a weird foe, but it's fine. So I love the Girl the Grid videos, right?
Yes.
Love them. And if you haven't seen the one that came out, I think it came out this week, of them guessing baby pictures of drivers. These boys are so dumb. I love them. There are so many photos that look identical to the driver still, even to this day. Like the baby picture of Alex Albon looks like today's version of Alex Albon.
Yep.
but 3 feet tall or whatever. It's like, and people are just like, who's that? Who's that? I don't know. And then Joe, first of all, Yuki's baby pictures, which I don't think they showed. I don't even know if he was like in the
I don't know why they didn't show
I don't know. But Yuki, maybe because it was just so obvious, like, because Yuki literally still looks the same as he did when he was little. He hasn't gotten that much taller, respectfully. And like Joe's was so obviously Joe, and they all just went. And I could tell. I think what the panic was is
they
I was
don't
like,
want to be
you
racist.
don't want to say Yuki and it not be Yuki, and that's fine. But it's clearly Joe. Like he is taller than Yuki has ever been in this photo.
And he looks like him.
Yeah,
he
looks like him. I mean, Valtteri's was hilarious, and because he looks exactly the same. But it was just really impressive, and maybe I don't know, the K-Mag one I also knew immediately because he looks so like his daughter looks so much like him. But I don't know, sometimes I think it's frustrating, and I think just the Girl to Grid at large, like. I think you did a TikTok about this or something, but it's so funny the amount of knowledge they don't have.
Yeah.
And yet we're expected and have it and expected to have more. Yeah. And it's just like, okay, well, no.
Yeah, I know. It is funny.
But
I do love those videos.
They're so good.
I'm
sad they haven't started incorporating Daniel in them yet.
I know, but maybe they won't.
Well, I think he filmed some stuff.
I think he did some stuff, but I don't know, because I think in the Girl to Grid, they're all in their like race uniform. I think it was during testing they did that. I could be wrong. But yeah, it was funny when Lewis turned it to Valtteri. He just like immediately started like laughing. That was funny.
Yeah.
I mean, if you remember, last year McLaren did that with Lando and Daniel.
Yes.
And they both were cracking up at Valtteri's picture as well.
It's so funny with those little bowl cut.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate.
His is so short.
His is much worse for sure. And then my fan is the Yuki and Pierre cooking experience. That was top tier for me. And I miss those guys together. And I mean, not really. I would like Yuki to go to Alpine.
I mean, that would be fine with me. Obviously Pierre has to stay.
Right.
I knew that was unspoken for you. I just wanted to speak it.
I do miss that duo.
Yeah.
I really don't want Yuki to not have a seat next year.
I know.
Like I can't deal with that. And part of me is like with Liam or with Logan, like Yuki and Alex are good friends.
I know.
So that would also be they would be so fun together too, because they always seem to be joking around and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, your foe.
Okay, I have 2, and they're like, I'm obviously delayed because I haven't been able to be on here for a while. But it's the Paddle Boys.
Yeah.
Love. And then when Max did the interviews for McLaren, like took the camera around,
funny,
loved. And I just, anytime we can see a little bit more of Max's personality, I'm a big fan.
Yep.
But I just thought it was pretty high quality content. And I think it's also fun when you just see, like, I don't know why McLaren was the one that posted it, or like, how any of that, but it was just fun to see like how often they are interacting with each other and like giving each other shit. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Love them.
Good times.
These silly boys who I didn't know about 2 years ago.
Exactly.
Just infiltrated my brain.
All right, let's get to some of the listener questions, comments, concerns. Someone said, was it Max that really broke the Monza curse, or was it the Nico curse on Ferrari
that broke the Monza curse?
Nico cursed Ferrari, but the Monza curse in theory curses Max.
From where I'm standing,
what curse is stronger?
The Monza curse.
Oh, okay.
And from where I'm standing,
well, Nico's pretty undefeated.
Okay, so Nico's is when he posts a picture of the team, that team doesn't win.
Yes.
Okay, the team was never going to. If you posted a picture of Red Bull and Red Bull lost, sure, that's not what happened.
Yeah, but I'm saying it. I'm not saying it's real. I'm
no, I understand. From my opinion, Max broke the Monza curse, and then, I mean, Ferrari still got on the podium, which to me, like the way that Ferrari's been performing this year, they could have really,
they got 3rd and 4th,
screwed it up. So I think they actually
I agree.
At least took some of the power away from Nico Rosberg.
Yes. Someone said, I'm so scared that Ferrari destroys the friendship between Charles and Carlos.
I think
they're fine. I think they're totally fine. I think because nothing happened in the race, like nothing catastrophic, they can be like, that was just good old fashioned racing.
Yeah.
They're
and
fine.
I think when you have a good, if they weren't close to begin with, I think something like that would mess them up. But again, totally my opinion, just based on social media interactions that we see and nothing else, it seems to me like once Monday comes around, everyone's just kind of moved on.
Yep.
And it's just like a, high intensity, there might be some frustration or whatever, but it's just like that's their job and their sport. But they're still
They're
like
fine.
friends.
Yeah. Someone said, do you think Logan Sargeant's seat is in trouble? Daniel, Yuki, Liam to Williams. I don't think
Daniel's not going to Williams.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think Daniel. I think he even said this in Zandvoort before he was injured. He basically said like, I'm like, this is where I'm like, I'm gonna live and die by the Red Bull AlphaTauri.
Yeah, he will be retiring from Red Bull.
If he doesn't get AlphaTauri, if he doesn't get a seat next year, I think he's done.
Probably.
I think Liam or Yuki would go to Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And Williams again is a good team.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't, I think that's definitely possible. But I think Daniel, as I said, I think he is pretty much, this is it for him. Someone who's getting the AlphaTauri seats. TBD.
Yeah.
Truly don't know.
Yeah. Hard to say.
Very hard to say. I'm trying to think of what's the least likely matchup.
Yuki and Liam. I think.
Oh, man, it's really hard. Because in my mind, I'm like, yeah, but because then I've also heard a lot of people saying like Yuki's contract is all but done, like, all but signed basically for next season. But obviously we know things can change. But I go through it in every variation. I'm like, I
know.
I really don't know. It is really tough.
It's hard to say.
It's so hard to say. Fred really meant it when he said there will be no team orders. That is true.
Mm-hmm.
I loved also Fred trying to smash Carlos's head in the cake. Yeah. Did you see that video? And then him with the boom mic. That was funny. Good old Fred. Likes to have fun. Likes to have fun.
Yeah.
How many more wins will Max have this season?
I betting against Max feels weird. Like I truly don't know if there was an issue at a race. I don't know which one it would be, and I don't know why it would happen.
It is hard to imagine him going through the whole season without one DNF.
I agree.
And obviously we saw AlphaTauri, they've got the Red Bull, they got the, Honda engine, the same thing in the back of the car that the Red Bulls have. And we saw it happen to Yuki. And that's the thing that's annoying. It's like, of course it happened to Yuki.
Yeah, right. Right.
It never happens to Max.
Like in Monza, it couldn't have been Max.
Right.
His car was just like,
it's like, or the hand thing with Daniel. It's like, of course it happens to Daniel.
Yeah, right.
Like, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Right.
It can never be the ones that not that I ever want anyone to break a hand.
No,
but I'm just saying it's like,
of course.
It's always the ones you love that hurt you the most.
Yeah. But I think you are really onto something. Like Max's dad made a deal with someone. And
I think I also thought this too. And we said this like last year, previous years. It's like most of these guys just have incredible lives. Like you think about Daniel's life. It's like he is rich.
Mm-hmm.
He is successful in whatever he does. He's got family and loved ones and friends and like very full, rich life. It's not like we need to be like, oh my God, this is like, he's okay.
Sure, of course.
He's fine. And that's the case for most of these drivers. And I know
it's hard for athletes,
It's definitely hard. It's definitely hard.
But they'll be fine.
But they'll be okay. And they're going to have to end this sport at some point, whether they want to be, whether it's their decision or not.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to be, when they're all 50 years old, they're all going to be in the same boat.
Yeah.
So
speaking of Daniel.
Yes.
Did you see the fan fiction?
Yes. Yes. And did you hear him on Dax's pod? Good stuff.
I wonder if he's going to get any royalties.
Wonder if he's going to send a cease and desist.
I don't think so.
You think he thinks it's funny?
I think he's really excited about the cover of the book, so I think he's going to leave it.
Like, how embarrassing if that.
Humiliating. I also just love that it's a dude that wrote it like to be funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, that makes me feel a lot better than like a girl like really writing it, being cringy, because I've read those and those are hard. Sometimes they're really good, but it can be for him to know about it.
Right, that's so embarrassing.
Really,
that's
really
so embarrassing.
Makes me itchy.
Yeah, exactly. It's so cringe. All right. Anything else you want to go over before we wrap things up for the week?
I don't think so. So we don't have a race next weekend?
No race next weekend.
Okay.
We'll have a just normal tradition. episode.
So I'm probably going to be out for the next 2 race.
Yeah, he was going to be out for the
recap.
next 2 race weekends, but we've got some people that will be filling in, which will be great. Yeah, so your next race won't be until Qatar in October.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so then we have Singapore, we got Japan. Good stuff. Yeah, anything else?
Good stuff. No.
Okay. Well, thank you all for listening. Again, make sure to comment, subscribe, like, rate, review, share, all the things. Your support is very important to us.
Yeah.
And we're grateful for it.
So grateful.
And yeah, I guess we'll see you guys next week.
Enchante.